Alcohol is apparently evil. No, not because the Lord said it was evil. He had a glass of wine. He would not want to hear about this. I'll tell you that right now.
The Surgeon General's report calls alcohol use a leading and preventable cause of cancer, saying drinking is responsible for nearly 100,000 cancer cases and about 20,000 cancer deaths per year. That puts alcohol behind tobacco and obesity as America's leading preventable cancer causes. The report says consuming it increases the risk of cancers in the mouth, throat, esophagus, liver, colon, and in women, breasts. The report recommends new warning labels more explicitly tying alcohol use to that increased risk.
Now, where did he go wrong there?
That's what we need is more warning labels because I didn't know alcohol was bad for you at all.
Yeah, they haven't changed it since 1988.
That's literally like saying, well, we need to make the front of the whole cigarette pack the warning because people don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. And here's the other thing. Nobody trusts it. We talked about this earlier today. The reality of how these things flip and flop is crazy because the conventional wisdom used to be, you know what? If you have a few drinks here and there, it wasn't so bad.
No amount of alcohol is really recommended for your health, and that really goes against the suggestions we've been hearing since the 90s that maybe alcohol, at least in moderation, maybe red wine, maybe it's good for you. Increasingly, that's been going in the opposite direction. And so today, the U.S. Surgeon General is issuing this advisory, noting that alcohol is the third leading preventable cause of cancer in the United States after tobacco and obesity, and notes that even though this scientific research has been emerging, a majority of Americans actually don't realize that risk between alcohol and cancer.
Because they just made it up today. 75% of all studies are 100% fake data. I mean, you can get anybody to say anything you want. I can almost guarantee you that the alcohol lobby group, Alcohol Distillers of America.com.org is out spending, bless you, Bell, God knows how much money right now going out and getting some sort of report that says it's great to drink alcohol. Yes, sir.
It just blows me away the way they find a problem. Then in a few months, we're going to hear another report going, you know what? Alcohol's really not all that bad.
Yeah.
And then a few months after that, it's like, we're looking at this wine and liquor thing. It's not good.
No. 2 drinks, 1 drink, 1.5, 2 ounces. It's going to be red wine, right? Remember alcohol is bad, but then it was red wine. You can have red wine with a piece of dark chocolate and it'll make your heart like it's a 10-year-old.
Yeah. You'll end up living 10 years longer.
It's genetics and how you live your life. And it's also, I will say this, if all the things and studies have been done, it's a certain amount when genetics plays a role, but also optimism. How many times do you meet people that are your age and you're like, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? You're like 90 years old.
Anything you consume.
Yes.
Anything is always going to be more problematic when you're not doing it in moderation.
Mm-hmm. And what we have here, I mean, everybody can make fun of RFK Jr. all they want. And look, some of his stuff I think is a bit wacky, but when it comes to the fitness side and the reality of what he's talking about, the pharmaceutical industry missed out on something that the tobacco industry didn't. The tobacco industry was never in the tobacco industry. They're in the addiction industry. And the minute the minute they knew the game was up, what did they do? They started buying food companies, putting money there. Why? Because we've got all these things that are going to help you get addicted to this. Right? Captain Crunch isn't going to kill you. Next thing you know, you're 400 pounds. So they're in the addiction industry. That is what they were into. Alcohol, in moderation, like anything, I'm sure it's okay. You have to look at the study too. Who's the study on? Because we want the study to be, okay, it's a blind study. Well, these people over here are predisposed to breast cancer. These people over here are predisposed to this. This person smokes, drinks, and weighs 500 pounds. How do I know that his cancer wasn't caused by the 2 other things and his unhealthy lifestyle? And then there's always that person that's fit as a fiddle and they get sick and die. So alcohol, bam.
You remember Jim Fixx?
Yes.
Remember how Jim Fix died?
Yeah, the guy who was the created jogging, which is funny.
He was like one of the leading proponents of jogging, and he died of a heart attack while he was jogging.
Yeah, I mean, it's remember because that's a genetic thing. The guy that was The Biggest Loser, that dude who was super fit, along with Jillian Michaels. I forget his name.
I can't remember either.
He was fit, like, 3% body fat. What do you have to do? He had emergency surgery. Why? All of his arteries were clogged. He had issues. Genetic. Some of that's just the way it is. How many times do we see these, they interview this old guy, right? Has been around since the Civil War. He's sitting on his porch smoking his corn pop pipe. And, how did Pawpaw make it this long? I smoke a pipe every day, drink a fifth of Jack Daniels, eat a pound of bacon and a ding-dong. You can't explain it. But these things are studies that aren't controlled. Not everybody's equal. And I'm, by the way, a teetotaler. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. As Adam Ant would say, what do you do? But I think within moderation, everything is good. And I think the outlook is a big deal. And we can go back to the 80s, the 70s and 80s. And we can go and see how many times I was told that because of eggs, your cholesterol is going to be too high, so you can't eat it. And then there was a war on eggs. Then there was a war on milk, too, right? Remember the war on milk?
One thing we tend to forget, too, is that the federal government has actually admitted that the food pyramid they created in the 70s, or was it 60s or 70s?
Yeah, 60s, I think.
They created it in the 60s. The thing has been upside down the entire time. And they're pretending like it doesn't exist now.
Yeah, because as we talked about yesterday, what does the government never do? Like Fonzie. They don't
admit they're wrong.
Sorry. They'll never apologize for making a mistake. They won't. They'll just act like it never happened. Like when COVID was going on and the person would go out and say, you need to do this. And they'd put it on the website. And 2 minutes later, they're taking it off the website. Somebody comes out and go, don't do that. They just act like that never happened. So, alas, here we are. Here's what you do. Eat better. A little bit. Work out a little bit more. Okay? And I think, and then hope and pray that you're okay. And don't overindulge in stuff that's bad for you.
Yeah, have a glass of whiskey on a Saturday. You don't have to do the whole bottle.
No, you don't. I mean, again, that's an issue. You have an issue, sir. You have cirrhosis. Not the same thing. Bob Harper, that was his name on The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that guy almost died. And you look and you're like, he's fit as a fiddle. But that was genetics, right? Like that's genetic. And it's funny, speaking of genetics, what's his name? I know many of you guys don't like Mitt Romney. Have you ever read his book? It's very interesting. Mitt is a health freak because every male in his family has dropped dead by like the age 40, except for him. It's always terrified that he's going to drop dead. So, sometimes that just happens. People like when I go to the doctors and they'll say, oh, how's your heart? I say, oh, good. I need to lose like 20 pounds and I'm, but I don't drink or smoke or do anything else like that, which I think helps. But they say, well, how'd your dad die? I said, well, he died of a heart attack. Well, you got to watch. I said, well, he died of a heart attack because of drugs. It was like his fifth heart attack. Not because of high blood pressure and genetics, because of cocaine. Oh. Now you guys know a little bit more.
Wait a minute. You're going to tell me that's bad for you too?
Well, it is. In moderation, man. In moderation. It wasn't bad for you in the 80s. Little bump.
In 80s, it would close business deals.
That's right. Little yayo. Oh, Chad, you said yayo.